The rain fell upon the city like a silent symphony, shimmering under the glow of streetlights. It was past midnight when Ethan Carter stepped out of Carter Capital, his expensive coat shielding him from the storm raging overhead. The day had been exhausting. Tense negotiations, endless calculations, but he was used to it. Work always came first. As he strode toward his car, something made him stop. Across the street, a woman stood frozen in the downpour. Her black dress clung to her frame, auburn hair plastered to her pale face. Olivia Morgan. He should have walked away, but then lightning struck, illuminating her face for the briefest moment, and he saw it. The pain, the exhaustion, yet a fire that refused to die. Before he could question himself, he was already moving. "You'll get sick standing out here like this." She turned, green eyes shimmering with rain. "I'm fine." Her voice was quiet but firm. Ethan should have believed her. Instead, he extended his umbrella. "Let me give you a ride." She hesitated, then nodded. That night, the rain changed everything. The car glided smoothly through rain-slick streets, headlights cutting through the misty haze. Inside, silence stretched between them, broken only by the rhythmic patter of raindrops on the roof. Olivia sat close to the window, fingers absently tracing the faint scar along her jaw, a habit she hadn't managed to break. Ethan noticed, his sharp eyes catching the movement. He wondered where it had come from, what story it held, but he didn't ask. Instead, he simply watched. "Where to?" he asked. She hesitated before murmuring an address. "A small hotel in Midtown." "Not home." "Do you live there?" Ethan found himself asking, though he wasn't sure why he cared. A fleeting smile touched her lips. "Not anymore." He didn't push further. They both carried untold stories, scars unseen, and even though neither spoke of them, they both felt it, the weight of something unspoken, yet deeply understood. When the car pulled up in front of the hotel, Olivier reached for the door but hesitated. She turned back to Ethan, as if searching for words, then simply whispered, "Thank you for stopping." Ethan didn't know what he had expected. Maybe something more, maybe an explanation, but he only nodded. "If you need anything, call me." He placed a business card on the dashboard. She took it but made no promises. Stepping out, she disappeared into the rain. Ethan watched her until she vanished through the hotel entrance. It should have ended there. But as he drove away, he realized he couldn't shake the image of her drenched, fragile, yet somehow unbroken. Most of all, he couldn't forget the small scar along her jaw, a silent testament to something she had endured. And Olivia, as she stood by the window looking down at the street, knew that Ethan Carter had entered her world in a way she never saw coming. Ethan never expected to see her again. But just days later, while walking past a small gallery in Soho, a photograph in the window made him stop. A woman standing in the rain, her face tilted upward, eyes closed as if letting the water wash away something unseen. The moment was so raw, so visceral, that it sent a shiver through him. Because he recognized the subject. Olivia Morgan, and the small signature in the corner confirmed it. She was the photographer as well. Without hesitation, Ethan stepped inside. He moved past the displayed pieces, each one carrying a quiet sorrow, a story left untold. Then he saw her, standing near the reception desk, speaking to another woman. She looked different this time. Still Olivia, but lighter somehow, at least in this fleeting moment. She turned, and their eyes met. "Ethan Carter?" Olivia tilted her head, her voice carrying a hint of surprise and amusement. "I wouldn't have pegged you as the gallery type." Ethan glanced around before meeting her gaze. I didn't think so either, but then I saw your work and I couldn't look away." She studied him for a beat, then smiled. But there was something sad lingering in her expression as she said, "My photographs are usually about what people try to hide." Ethan's eyes flickered back to the image of her standing in the rain, then slowly asked, "And a scar on your jaw? Is that something you're hiding too?" Her smile faltered. She folded her arms as if shielding herself from an invisible chill. "Some wounds don't fade, Ethan." For the first time, Ethan saw the depth of the mysteries she carried, and for the first time, he wanted to understand them all. Ethan couldn't shake the look in Olivia's eyes when she spoke of wounds that never fade. He didn't press further, but the image of her, strong yet fragile, carrying a weight she refused to name, lingered in his thoughts for days. Then, the past found her. That night, as Olivia left the gallery, she felt it, that eerie sensation of being watched. It was a feeling she had long buried, one she thought she had escaped. She quickened her pace, but a voice behind her froze her in place. "Still running, Olivia?" Her breath hitched. Daniel Foster. The man who had once been her world, the man who had loved her in a way that made her forget herself. She turned, her green eyes sharp, but her fingers clenched into fists. Daniel looked the same, polished, confident, but there was something darker in his smile now. "We need to talk." His voice was smooth, controlled, the way it had always been when he wanted something from her. She stepped back, but then warmth, a steady presence at her side. "No, she doesn't." Ethan's voice cut through the tension, firm and unwavering. Daniel arched an eyebrow, amusement flickering across his face. "So, you have a new bodyguard now?" Olivia glanced at Ethan, who hadn't taken his eyes off Daniel. For the first time, she felt the familiar grip of fear, but this time, she wasn't alone. She wasn't powerless, and she wasn't running. Olivia never thought she'd see Daniel again. She had spent 2 years rebuilding herself, trying to erase the wounds he left behind, both the visible scars and the ones no one could see. But now he stood before her, as if time had never passed. Ethan didn't say much, but his presence beside Olivia spoke volumes. He didn't take his eyes off Daniel, his sharp blue gaze cutting through him like a blade. "What do you want?" Olivia asked, her voice steady despite the rapid pounding of her heart. Daniel shrugged, that same smug smile still perfectly in place. "Just a coincidence, but since I found you, I think we should talk." "We have nothing to say to each other," Olivia replied firmly, but Daniel shook his head. "Do you really think the past just disappears?" He took a step closer. "I've always known where to find you, Olivia, and this time, I won't let you run." Ethan stepped forward, placing himself between them. "She's not running." Daniel chuckled, but his eyes darkened. "And who are you supposed to be? Her savior?" Olivia glanced between them, realizing that for so long Daniel had controlled her life. But Ethan, he wasn't trying to control her. He was simply standing beside her, giving her the choice. For the first time, she didn't want to run anymore. She reached for Ethan's arm, squeezing gently. A small gesture, but filled with meaning. "I can stand up for myself," she said, her gaze unwavering as she met Daniel's. Daniel was silent for a long moment before smirking. "Is that so?" He took a step back, his cold eyes flicking to Ethan. "We'll see each other again, Olivia." And then he turned and walked away, leaving tension thick in the air. Ethan turned to Olivia. "Are you okay?" She nodded, but her eyes lingered on Daniel's retreating figure. For the first time, she whispered, "I'm not afraid anymore." The rain was falling again. Droplets hit the glass as Olivia stood on the rooftop of her studio, gazing out at the city skyline. For the first time in years, she didn't feel afraid when she thought about her past. Daniel no longer had control over her. She had faced him, stood her ground, and now she felt free. A cold breeze swept through, but instead of shivering, Olivia closed her eyes and let the rain wash away the remnants of old wounds. Footsteps approached behind her. "Ethan." He didn't say anything at first. He simply stood beside her, watching the city lights flicker through the rain. "You know," Olivia said softly, "I used to think rain was something that washed things away, that it was an ending." Ethan turned to her, his gaze gentle. "And now?" She faced him, a small smile playing on her lips. "Now, I think maybe it's a beginning." Ethan reached out, his fingers brushing against the faint scar on her jaw, not out of pity, but reverence. Olivia didn't flinch this time. She didn't pull away. "Olivia," he said slowly, "I don't want to be the one who saves you. I just want to be the one who stands beside you." She took a deep breath, letting his words settle in. Then she stepped closer, placing her hand over his chest, right above where his heart beat steadily. "And you always have. No hesitation, no fear." She tilted her face up, and as Ethan leaned down to kiss her, the rain continued to fall, a perfect soundtrack to a brand new beginning. The sun broke through the clouds, casting a soft golden light over the rain-soaked streets. Olivia sat by the window of her studio, a warm cup of coffee cradled in her hands, watching the city awaken. The storm from the night before had washed everything clean: her fears, the ghosts of her past, the invisible chains that had held her for so long. A soft knock at the door. "Ethan!" He stepped inside, his hair still slightly damp, his shirt simple yet making him look warmer than ever. Olivia smiled, setting her coffee down. "You're here early," Ethan shrugged. "I was never good at waiting." She laughed. There was something light in the air between them, in the way he stood there like he had no intention of ever leaving. "I want to show you something," she said, taking his hand and leading him to the large wall in her studio where photographs hung. A story told through images. Ethan took them in, one by one. The unguarded moments, the painful memories, the first steps toward healing, and at the end, a photo of the two of them standing in the rain, city lights glowing behind them. A testament to something fragile, yet profoundly beautiful. "I think it's time I told my own story," Olivia murmured. Ethan turned to her, his gaze deep and unwavering. "And I'll be there to witness it." She smiled, placing her hand over his. The light after the storm had never been so beautiful. Olivia's photography exhibition was held on a December evening, when the crisp winter air filled the city and Christmas lights sparkled along the streets. The gallery was packed. Art critics, photography enthusiasts, and curious onlookers. But the only presence that truly mattered stood quietly in the corner, watching her. Ethan. The white walls displayed her story. Not just the pain, but the journey. The images of heartbreak, of fear, that once confined her, and the quiet moments when she chose to step into the light. And at the very center of the gallery, the final piece, a photograph of Olivia and Ethan in the rain, a moment unguarded, a story without words. She stood before it, emotions swelling within her. Then Ethan moved closer, his warmth grounding her amid the crowd. "You did it," he murmured. Olivia turned to him, her green eyes shining. "I couldn't have done it without you." Ethan shook his head, smiling softly. "You've always been strong, Olivia. I was just lucky enough to witness it." A gentle chime echoed through the gallery, signaling the evening's end. But for Olivia, this wasn't an ending. It was a beginning. She reached for Ethan's hand, feeling the warmth of his fingers entwined with hers. The rain had brought them together, but it was their choice to love, to heal, that kept them there. "Let's go home," Olivia whispered. Ethan gave her hand a small squeeze, then led her out of the gallery. Outside, the city lights shimmered like a promise. A new beginning. A year had passed since that exhibition night. A year since Olivia truly stepped out of the shadows, and Ethan learned to let his heart open again. They loved each other the way two people who had been broken would. Slowly, patiently, never to fill a void, but to build something real. They explored each other's worlds, shared quiet mornings over coffee, long nights watching the stars from Ethan's balcony. Olivia captured him in photographs, the way he worked, the way he laughed, the way he looked at her as if she was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. And Ethan, who once believed love was a weakness, now couldn't imagine a world without Olivia in it. One crisp October afternoon, they returned to where it all began, the street corner where Olivia had stood in the rain that night. But this time, Ethan didn't just bring an umbrella. He knelt down, Ethan's heart pounded. He had closed million-dollar deals without breaking a sweat. But now, standing in the very place where their story began, he felt uncharacteristically nervous. Taking a deep breath, he dropped to one knee. "Olivia, Morgan," his voice wavered for just a moment before steadying. "You taught me that love isn't control, it's a choice. And every day I choose you. Today, I want to ask, will you choose me too? Tears spilled down Olivia's cheeks, but they were the happiest tears she had ever shed. Yes, Ethan, 1,000 times yes. 1 year later, in a garden filled with flowers, surrounded by the people they loved, Olivia walked down the aisle toward Ethan. And as she walked toward him, every step felt like a promise. And when they exchanged vows as Ethan kissed her under a shower of petals, Olivia knew the rain that night had changed their lives. But love had kept them together. And this wasn't just a beginning. It was forever. Ethan Carter once thought that closing million-dollar deals was the hardest thing he had ever done. But that was before he became the father of 2 mischievous little girls, Emma and Lily Carter. 2 years after the wedding, their home was no longer the quiet, orderly space it used to be. Instead, it was filled with laughter, tiny footsteps thudding against the wooden floors, and dramatic negotiations over which twin got to play with their favorite stuffed animal. Ethan Carter, you were once one of the most powerful CEOs, and now you can't even handle 2 little girls? Olivia teased as she watched him being tackled by the twins. I can take down a rival corporation, but these 2? I surrender, Ethan sighed, though the sparkle in his eyes betrayed his amusement. Emma, the older twin by exactly 3 minutes, was a whirlwind of energy, always leading their mischievous adventures. Meanwhile, Lily, though quieter, was the mastermind behind most of their troublemaking. Olivia leaned against the doorway, camera in hand, capturing the moment. Ethan lying on the couch, utterly defeated, with 2 giggling little girls triumphantly sitting on top of him. I'm printing this and putting it in my next exhibition, Olivia grinned, sitting beside him. What's the theme? Ethan asked, wrapping an arm around her. Olivia rested her head on his shoulder, watching as the twins bickered over a teddy bear. Unguarded moments, Ethan chuckled, recalling the first photographs Olivia had ever shown him. Raw, unfiltered snapshots of people in their most vulnerable states, and now he realized their life had become the perfect exhibition. Chaotic, messy, but undeniably beautiful. Suddenly, Emma and Lily ran up, grabbing onto Ethan's legs, their bright eyes filled with excitement. Daddy, Mommy said you met her in the rain. Tell us the story, Emma pleaded. Ethan arched an eyebrow at Olivia, who simply smiled and shrugged. All right, but only on one condition, Ethan said, pretending to be serious. What is it? Lily asked curiously. After the story, you both have to go to sleep. The twins exchanged glances, clearly debating whether the trade-off was worth it. Fine, Emma agreed, but Lily leaned in and whispered to her sister, we can just fall asleep halfway through the story. Olivia laughed, shaking her head, wondering if Ethan realized their lives would never be quiet again. But as she watched her husband begin telling the story of a rainy night that changed everything, she knew this beautiful chaos was exactly what they were meant to have. Because this wasn't just a love story anymore. This was a story about family,